In this lesson video, I'm going to be going over 3 different strategies that you can use to orchestrate your solo piano. Now, what do I mean by that? Usually when students start, when I first started learning solo piano, my solo piano sounded thin, and that's what happens to a lot of beginners, even intermediate players. It sounds kind of thin. There's a lot of space. There's not knowing what to do in between the measures when we're trying to fill that space, and it just sounds kind of empty. So with these amazing 3 strategies, you're truly going to be able to create a full orchestral sound rhythmically and harmonically to really thicken up your solo piano performance. These tips are amazing. They're instantly going to transform your solo piano playing, and I promise you, you're going to love them. My name is Brendan Lowe, creator and founder of Jazz Piano School. I just created a new 3-day solo piano workshop. So if you're looking for more in-depth solo piano information and you want access to my solo piano system and you want to learn the steps to follow to make amazing amounts of improvement in your solo piano, go to jazzpianoschool.com/solo piano workshop to get access to my free 3-day video workshop. It's sent through email. It's all completely free. The videos are short, easy, fun to watch. Again, go to jazzpianoschool.com/solo piano workshop to get access to that. With that being said, let's dive right in.
All right, step number 1 is going to be you have to harmonize the melody on downbeats of chords for the most part. If the melody's moving quickly, it's really difficult to get those harmonizations in. But in this particular case, in Green Dolphin Street, because we just have half notes, you gotta harmonize your melodies with the chords instead of just going, right? That's gonna be a very thin way of playing solo piano. We really wanna thicken it out, create an orchestral arrangement of these tunes, right? So what I'd recommend, take the C here. If you know my 2-hand voicing strategy, you can apply this now. You can have 1, 7 here and 3, and then you can fill with other chord tones and extensions. So I might go, right, just like this. I have 1 and 7, 9, 3, and 5, right? So here's an example of just harmonizing the melody with a full chord to represent that C major 7. Now, all I'm gonna do is play the chord and then repeat the melody with my pinky. Okay, quick little tip that's not included in these 3 steps is that most of the time your pinky wants to be on top so that you can apply these harmonizations to the chord, right? Just like this. And then I'd, again, take my pinky. You see that? So when the chord changes on that new downbeat of that new chord, I'm going to harmonize the melody with my 2-hand voicing strategy, which, by the way, if you don't know that, it's going to be 1 and 7 and then 3 in my right hand thumb to get the bass note and shells, or 1 and 3 and 7 in my right hand to get the bass note and shells. So when we go to that D chord, check it out. If you're just playing a straight D7 chord here, you could do this, or you can put the C in the bottom. I don't really particularly like that chord. I usually play the D7 here, right? So I have 1, the root, 3, 7. I'm doubling the 3rd. I could add the 9 in here. That would sound really nice, right? Melody. And then on that, I'm going to play the D flat chord on the downbeat of 1 there, actually, even though the real book doesn't say it. Okay, that's a really nice change there. Usually that chord will fall right on the downbeat. So I'm going to switch to my D flat 7 now. 1, 3, 7, 9. It's the same exact voicing. I'm just doing this and then moving it down by a half step and then playing the melody. And then I'm going to harmonize again. Right? You hear this thick harmonization? It creates a full orchestral arrangement of my solo piano performance. So instead of just this, before I would have had this. Right? Whoops, sorry. My hand slipped off the piano. That's never happened to me before. I went to play a note, it just literally slipped off. Okay, so I gotta sand up my keys here. So that's what it would sound like right there. Too much coffee this morning, right? All right. So now when we harmonize, it's gonna sound like this. Here's our D7 chord, right? And then I'm gonna go to our. Let me add the 9 in there. Right? I love this. You can slide into that 9 if you want. Woo! I love that. Down to that D flat 7. Now check out what I'm doing for the C major 7. Here's the melody, here's the bass note, 3, 7. So I always want my bass note and shells in there. I'm adding the 5 and the 13 in the 9. I think I added, and maybe I think I might have added the 3rd again. So it's up to you. Once you get the bass note, melody, and shells in there, right, you can add in as many chord tones or extensions as you want to thicken up your sound, to harmonize your sound. So let me walk you back through this. Again, I could do this. Okay, we're going to get to the next tip, which is going to really fill this in just a second, okay? Right, so now it's already sounding better, right? I played a different harmonization. Now, if you want to get some more low-end bass notes, which is really, really important, you can do something like this. So you can, if you can reach a 10, this is going to help your spread a little bit, right? So now it might sound like this if you want to play a 6 chord, or you can add that 7 in down here. Now you're getting a huge spread, which is cool, right? So you hear the difference in the thickness and lushness, right? And then maybe this, and then here, right? Okay? So really, really cool stuff here. Again, tip number 1, you gotta harmonize. You gotta harmonize when that melody note hits the chord, the downbeat of the chord, and especially when the chord changes, right? On every new chord change, try to harmonize the melody. If the melody's moving fast, like a tune like There'll Never Be Another You, right? It's hard to do that, but I'm gonna show you how you can tackle that right now. So tip number 2 is going to be to use your pinky and your bass note and your harmonization to comp in the space after you've played the melody. So let's say you can't really get a harmonization in because the tune's moving fast or whatever, or for whatever reason you want to apply this just as a different strategy. You can do this. At least play your bass note with the melody so you get some low end support. And what I'm going to do here is take my voicing, my harmonization that I created, and I'm going to apply some rhythmic comping in the middle of the measure after the melody. So this is usually good for when the melody is sitting. It's not moving. So I would go, right? So I'm creating this Latin feel through my rhythmic comping of my voicing, right? So I'm playing the melody. Right? And then I'm going to comp in the middle. I can still use the exact same voicing I created with you on step number 1. So I'm literally holding the melody. You don't even have to do that. You can play the melody and just comp the full thing, but it is kind of cool to hold that melody with your pinky and hold the bass note and comp in the middle of the piano, like between the bass note and the melody. Rhythmically comp with the arrangement or thick voicing that you've created, harmonization, and apply some rhythmic comps. So step number 1 was to harmonize the melody, but step number 2 is going to add a little bit of rhythm. It's going to thicken this sauce up, right? The solo piano playing even more. Okay, so here we are applying step number 2. It's going to sound like this. Right? Amazing, getting amazing sounds. And you can do this with your bigger harmonization as well if you wanted to do this. Like, listen to the difference in the sound. It sounds like a full orchestra, right? Right? Amazing. It's like you got saxes talking to the trumpets, talking to, the bones. It does, it's like a full orchestral arrangement of a solo piano tune. That's exactly what solo piano should sound like. Now, tip number 3. I'm going to do this in less than 10 minutes. That's amazing. So tip number 3 is going to be when the melody is sitting on a whole note or even a half note or when there's space. In solo piano, one of the best things I can tell you is to take your right hand, lift it off the melody, and bring it down to the low end of the piano to comp for yourself. This has to happen. Otherwise, there's nothing going on. But luckily, I talked to you tip number 2 because that's going to kind of fill some space. But if you want to get that rich low-end comping sound, you got to take your hand off, okay? So for example, in that C minor 7, right, I'm going to remove my hand from the melody. We're not a horn player. We don't breathe through a piano. So that means I can play this note and lift my hand and comp for myself, down in this rich low end of the piano. The voicing strategy, I can let you know, that's probably easiest for a lot of you. Use rootless voicings in your right hand and just bass notes in your left hand. All right, so check it out. So I'm jumping my hand down to the bottom end of the piano to kind of comp for myself. I can do all sorts of things, right? You can do little half steps. You can do some fourth chords, right? It doesn't have to be in the low end of the piano, but you want to try to not kind of like cover up the melody, if you get what I'm saying. That's more advanced stuff. But here we go on the D7. So I'm going to jump down to my D7 rootless voicing here, maybe a 3-note voicing. I'm going to comp my D flat chord on the downbeat of that measure too, and then jump back up to the melody. So I'm utilizing all this space in between the melody to comp for myself, and again, create a more lush, thick solo piano sound that sounds like a full orchestration. Okay, check it out. So I'm using the low end to comp for myself in between the melody. Now, that's very advanced stuff. I know that. Take a lot of students at this point, they're like, well, Brendan, you demonstrate a lot of everything so fast. It's like, how do I even start to do this, right? I get it. Take what you know and do it in a simple way, okay? Here's how to do it. If you're a complete beginner, even intermediate players, play the melody, jump down, play, and comp for yourself with shells and bass notes. That's it. Literally anyone can do this, or just root position chords. So I could go. That's a beautiful sound. I'm playing a C major root position chord. Most beginners know there's 7th chords, and I can comp for myself rhythmically. Take the tempo slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm already beginning to create a much better sound than I ever was playing jazz tunes in a solo piano way with root position chords in my left hand and single note melody 9s in my right hand, which sounds like this. Right? There's all this space. And with these 3 tips, you're going to literally drastically change your solo piano sound, again, in like less than 10 minutes. Oh, I just went to 11 minutes. But if you learn these tips and work on them diligently with discipline, again, your playing is going to sound so much better, like life-changing overnight. Take a week to work on this, and you won't even recognize the sound of your own playing. All right, that's how powerful these tips are. So work on these strategies. Again, tip number 1 was to harmonize. Make sure you harmonize with the melody when the chord happens on the downbeats of the chords, downbeat of 1 of the chords, right? In between the measures, that's fine. Tip number 2, you got to add some comps or some rhythmic comping for yourself, okay? So you can do that easily by hitting the melody and bass note. Do some rhythmic comping in the middle between your 2 pinkies. Tip number 3, jump down. Leave the melody. We're not horn players. We don't need to hold out the notes, and even they don't hold out the notes, right? They're breathing air through their instruments. We can lift our hand and comp for ourselves. So play the melody, jump down to the low end of the piano, comp for yourself, and then go back to play the melody, okay? You don't have to hold the melody just because the note is tied or it's a whole note, okay? Hope you guys enjoyed those tips. Again, if you want more information on learning solo piano, check out my solo piano system workshop that I mentioned to you in the intro, and the link is in the description below. Okay, have a fantastic day, and as always, happy practicing. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Don't forget to go to jazzpianoschool.com to check out all of our free, amazing education, all of the free podcast blogs. We do have a membership if you're looking to take a next step forward with us, get access to over 1,000 different jazz piano videos, playbooks, mini courses, a main course curriculum, success path, and so much more. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at support@jazzpianoschool.com. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, happy practicing.